Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Kathy and today I wanted to show you another video on coloring with the Shinhan Touch Twin Markers. So what I did is I actually have already stamped out my image here, and I am going to be putting up a Tip Tuesday video after this video. So this video is going to go up on, I think, Sunday, and then the following Tuesday I'm going to have a video on how I did this masking technique. So be sure to check that out if you're interested in that. So today what I want to show you is specifically coloring with the Shinhan markers, but I wanted to color as if there's a light source coming down. So what I've seen, and I've seen quite a few videos on coloring and using the light sources, and I'm certainly not an artist, so you know, I'm just a bit of an amateur when it comes to this, but this is kind of what I felt worked for me and what I found really helpful. So what I do is I'll take an object, in this case I'm going to use my scissors, and I act as if that's the way the light source is coming in, and I find if you just position them there, so I'm going to leave it there as if the light source is coming in this way, then I find it easier to help guide me on where I want to put down the color. So the first thing I'm going to do is color the little chicks. So what I'm actually going to do first is I want to have, because I'm going to need to blend quite a bit, I only have 2 colors, but I technically want to have 3 different shades. So I'm going to show you how I do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually put down the colorless blender, and the reason I'm doing that is because I just want to get the image where I'm going to be coloring wet. Because if you have, when you're blending alcohol markers, they blend a lot easier if your paper source is actually wet. So the first thing I'm going to do is just like basically put down the colorless blender over the whole image, and I am kind of avoiding, if I can, the lines. I find I stamp this with archival ink, and I find if you don't let it dry for quite some time, like a while, when you go to put these blenders, they can actually make it run. So I'm kind of being impatient and not wanting to wait for it to dry very long. So I am going to try and avoid the lines, although I might end up picking up some of that archival ink. So that, I mean, you don't have to be too precise about this. I'm basically just getting down the colorless blender, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the darkest color. So what you want to consider is if the light source is coming from here, everything exactly opposite of that is going to be the darkest. So and then there's some other shading and stuff that you're going to have to keep in mind, but in this case I'm just going to start with this side of the chick. So because the light source is coming in from here, I want the exact opposite side to be the darkest. So basically what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to lay down quite a bit of this darker, I guess it's like an orange color. So this is the marigold, and I'm just going to be putting it down so that it's the darkest kind of at the base. Now, and I basically color it, I kind of consider it coloring in sections. So this is the main body, and then with the wing, because the light source is coming in this way, again, there's going to be, in my mind, a darker kind of color there, and then under the wing, because the wing can kind of provide a bit of a shadow, it's also going to be a bit darker just where the wing is kind of covering the body there. So I'm going to do that, and then for here, the light source coming in this way, the top of this wing is going to be the darkest, so I'm just going to shade in kind of the base, mostly the base and towards the left, because the light source is a little bit up towards the left. And then for the you know, the cracked kind of egg on the top, eggshell, it's going to be darker kind of under there too, because it's going to create a bit of a shadow. So I'm really just wanting to put down just a thin line of this darker color there. So now what I'm going to do is go in with the lighter yellow. So this one is the golden yellow, and I'm just going to be shading in. First I'm just going to get the color down, and then I'm going to start blending. So I'm just getting the color everywhere else. And then I'll sort of explain what I'm going to do next. Okay, so now that I've got most of the color down, I'm going to zoom in a little bit for this part and then I'll zoom back out. So what I'm doing here is I'm just basically going to really concentrate. I've got the yellow down where I want the rest of the parts, but I'm really going to concentrate on where the two colors meet to really blend out the edges. Wherever I put the marigold down, I want the gold and yellow to kind of blend it in a bit better, like that. So that's kind of the next step that I do. And now the third step that I'm going to do is, because I don't have three colors, I'm going to use the colorless blender, because the way this works is that you have to consider it's like taking away color. So again, closest to the light source, I want these parts to be even lighter. So I'm going to be taking the colorless blender and then just near the top, you know, in this case I'm avoiding like right under where the shell hangs over the face. But the rest of the spots, kind of about, you know, I don't know, a third down into the chick, I want it to be the lightest yellow because I don't have three colors. So I'm just going to be taking away some color there. And what you're going to find when you use this is you can almost hold it in the place. At first you think it's not really doing anything, but if you actually hold it, like even hold it for a bit or just keep going over the same areas, it is going to take color away. So now you could stop there, but I want it to have a bit more of a contrast. So I'm going back in with the darkest color and I'm just going to be adding in right to the exact opposite of those scissors. I'm going to be adding in a bit of a darker shade, like this darker shade again, because I want it to be a bit more contrasted. And that's what happens when you put the two colors together, the marigold and the golden yellow, because the same thing, the golden yellow kind of takes away some of the marigold. And then in this case, I'm just going to be going over where the two colors meet. I'm not going right down into the marigold, like right near the bottom, because if I do that, it's going to take color away. So I just want to blend the two, where the two colors meet again, and then kind of keep going. I'm going to go up a little bit into where this yellow goes. The yellow was going before. And then what I'm going to do is go back in with now the colorless blender, and I'm going to go cover like the seams where those two colors meet, where I had the colorless blender before and the golden yellow. So that's it. So that's, I hope that you're going to be able to catch that on the video, but that's one of the ones chicks done. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put on some music and I'm going to color the other one, and you can see how I'm coloring it, but I'm going to basically do the same principles. Oh, and I guess in this case I want to have the beak be a little bit darker, so I'm just putting that marigold on the whole beak so that it kind of sticks out a bit more. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and color this one on the left, and I'm going to use the same principles. There's my light source going down like that. So again, I'm going to keep that in mind for where I'm coloring the chick on the left. Okay, so there you go. I'm just going to bring that up a little bit closer. So hopefully you can see that effect as if the light source is coming in from this angle. And I'm going to go ahead and color the shells the exact same way. So I'll guess I'll talk you through a little bit of it, and then I'll probably put on some music, and then you can just watch my coloring. So again, the light source is kind of coming from that angle. And I'm going to start with the base of, so in this case I'm not going to put the colorless blender down. These sections are so small that I don't mind that there's only 2 colors, and if I want to lighten it up I can still add in the colorless blender later, but I don't think I need to kind of lay that, get the paper kind of wet. So again, there's the light source. So basically exact opposite of the light is where it's going to be the darker shading. So in this case, I just put down the peacock green, and then I'm going to be adding in the turquoise blue. So, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get the color down first, and then I'll go back and blend the seam where the 2 colors meet. Okay, so hopefully you can see that shading. And then I'm going to move on to a pink kind of layer here. So, you know, this is pretty easy, like, because the light source is right there. So it's just, you know, the exact opposite is going to be where the darker color goes. And then I'm going to put the tender pink. So that was the cherry pink, and now I'm just putting the tender pink just on the top. And then because this other section, the little very tip, is so light, I'm just going to pick the lightest of the green shades, the 2 green shades that I'm using. So in this case it's leaf green, and I'm just going to put that down on the top there. And then I decided to make the little dots and use the peacock green where the dots are. Oh, and I forgot to make this little chick's beak here. You take the marigold, make it the darkest, because it's the darkest color. It helps it stand out, especially because the light source is there. And then I'm going to move on to this one. And I find it, like in this case, I'm still, like, the light source is basically the same direction, but I find it a little bit easier to move the scissors over here a little bit closer, but still have the same direction of light. So I'm going to do that. Now, because this is coming in from this angle, this side, this kind of left side of this egg shell is going to be the darkest because of the light source coming in like that. So you got to consider that too. So I'm going to go ahead with the green. So what I'm doing in this case is I'm going to really lay down the left, like this left side of color. And then I'm going to go down into here a little bit. And then because this chick is here, I think there's going to create a bit of a shadow over there, but I'm just leaving that empty because this side should be a little bit more shaded. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to go ahead and put down the citrus green, or the leaf green, sorry, and I'm just going to put the color down first, and then I'll go back and actually blend the seams together. Okay, so now I'm going to go over where the 2 colors meet. Like that. And actually I'm pretty happy with that, but if I felt like the colors didn't kind of change contrast enough, I would probably go back in with the darker green and put a layer of that down, and then go over the seam again. So hopefully you're actually can kind of see the shading and how it's working. So again, I'm going to use the cherry pink index layer, and this side is going to be the darkest, but then I'm just going to go down and kind of thin it out on the bottom row there, and then pick the tender pink and put that down. There is a little bit of, I am kind of kind of running the archival ink a little bit, so I'll kind of show you that just so you know. So I don't know if you can, is that picking up, but there is a little bit of running around the dots there. You won't ever get that if you actually let your ink dry long enough, but like I said, I'm a bit impatient today. So there is that one, and then the final layer I'm going to go in back into those kind of kind of turquoisey blue, peacock green. So I'm starting with the peacock green. There's my light source. So again, this side's going to be kind of the darkest. I'm just going to go down a little ways into the right side there, and then add on the turquoise blue and put that there. So now what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to color the rest of the image with, I can't use the Shinhan Touch Markers for the sky. I'm going to create color that blue, so I'm going to pick some of my Copic markers to color the sky, and then I'm also going to do a bit more shading in the grass area, because you know it should be kind of all green in there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll come back and then I'm going to show you the card assembled. Okay, so I just want to mention a couple of things before I move on. So for the sky, I used B00 Frost Blue and B000, which is pale porcelain blue from the Copic markers. And then I just filled in with various markers some of the grass so that it kind of had that green tinge underneath as well. And the other thing I did, and I'm hoping you're going to be able to pick this up, but what I do is whenever I have images on a cardstock like this, I do outline it in gray, and the reason I do that is because I feel like it creates a bit of a shadow behind the chicks, and then it feels like they're not kind of just floating around. I just find that that is a really cool technique that I learned quite some time ago, to just put like a bit of a gray right around the edge of the image, so that it almost looks like there's a shadow behind them and they're not just kind of floating in the middle of the paper. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to actually assembling the card and how I decorated the card. So if you are interested in that, just keep watching. Okay, you guys, so here is my completed card. So basically I used what I call my go-to layout. Yet again, I love this layout. I just find it the easiest one to do, and I know all the measurements. So I talked about this in one of my other videos, so I'm going to link that below. It's my go-to kind of card layout, especially when I'm using an image in the middle that I then put flowers around. So this is actually using the Close to My Heart brushed paper pack, and the stamp set is the one that I mentioned in the beginning. So it's an easel card, so basically it stands up and then is, you know, like an easel card. So what I did is I put some little baubles down here so that the card can stand up, and then I used one of the Close to My Heart stamps to create the sentiment there, and I cut this bunny on the Close to My Heart Artfully Sent Cricut cartridge, which is actually a card making cartridge, and I went to the kind of Easter cards, and this was one of the images that you could cut out, including the coordinating kind of little scarf. So that's what I did for that. And yeah, I'm gonna use this to give to one of my family members for Easter. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video and you get some ideas about how to use the lighting source in order to color your image. And until next time, happy crafting. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.